And hello, Tech Informist listeners. How are you all doing today? My name is Kevin Harvell. I'm joined by Brad Whiteside on episode 91, recorded Monday, July the 27th, 2015. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. We are packing up and getting ready for the big move, so the walls are quite bare. And it's driving me nuts.
Well, as what was it, old Mother Hubbard would say, I guess it's better to have your walls bare than your cupboard bare.
I agree completely.
You don't want your cabinets in your pantry to be bare.
Or your beer fridge.
Ooh, or your beer fridge. Which I know you got a little bit something to talk about a little bit later down in this, towards the end of the show.
Indeed.
Regarding beer. Ooh. Love. So how's everybody doing today? We got a nice chat going already, which is always good to see.
Decent chat for a Monday, I would say.
Yeah, for a Monday. Missing a few people, but that's okay. They'll be along shortly.
Little toasty here in St. Louis this week, it looks like.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to that, might I add.
And of course, I'll go to Texas during the nice cool part of the week here.
Ah, yes, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So go down, and I don't really know what the forecast is going to be. I guess I'm scared to look.
Yeah, you'll look and it'll be like 107 or something silly.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll just say, well, that's what I was expecting in St. Louis, but nope. There'll be some nice weather up here later this week and the weekend.
Yes.
Do you have anything exciting go on this weekend?
Absolutely nothing that I can think of, really.
Nothing memorable.
Yeah. Just kind of a average weekend. Had to jumpstart Sarah's car. Battery went dead. So we had to go get a new battery, and that's about the most eventful thing that really transpired over the weekend.
All right. Now, was she stranded anywhere, or was this something you just were able to, like, hey, we can just swap this out at home?
Actually, I did do something this weekend. My memory is failing. But no, so she was actually at a friend's house. They jumpstart her. She got home. So then the next day we tried to start it. Didn't start. So I was like, okay, well, you have a bad battery and whatnot. And we'll just run to work, grab the jump box, came back, jumped it, brought the jump box with us, obviously. Ran up to AutoZone. They test the battery. And he's like, yeah, you got, 40%. Battery that actually works and 60% of it's dead cells. I'm like, oh, well, that explains everything.
Yeah.
So, we got a new battery, got that put in. But I did go somewhere. I went to Pops on Friday night.
That's
right.
I
forgot about that. We went to see Fivefold, which is a St. Louis local band. And they are fantastic. The lead singer is such a nice guy. They're a little more on like the Coheed and Cambria side of music. He's got like a very interesting voice compared to most metal bands you would hear.
Okay.
But very, very stand-up guy, very nice guy. I mean, the whole band is just a bunch of nice people. So, and they make great music, by the way. So,
okay. Now I noticed you also, you mentioned that you saw Shane Presley there from Rock Paper Podcast, which is another St. Louis-based podcast.
I never got the chance to go over and talk to him because by the time I had decided to do that, he disappeared, and I'm not sure where he went. So I was like, maybe another time. Yeah, because I have a feeling that it won't be the last time that I see Fivefold.
Yeah, he is always posting. He'll post like 3 or 4, musical shows going on in St. Louis. Seems like daily. I mean, he's always throwing out information.
Well, does he include like the like smaller bands that would play at like Schlafly or?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what he focuses on. He doesn't talk about the big, like Van Halen was in St. Louis last night.
So he's focused on local bands.
Yes, yeah, more so local, and maybe local guys that have moved and have kind of coming back to play or something like that. He'll probably throw stuff like that out there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good show that you'd probably like to listen to since you're big on music and all that stuff.
Yeah, I might check it out here soon. I'm still catching up on the 2 weeks ago when I was gone because really didn't have time to listen to my podcasts.
Yeah, busy guy.
Yeah, still a little behind.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. As we know, this is a big week for Microsoft. In 2 days, as of the day of this recording, Windows 10 available. Windows Insiders will be able to
What
install
is
the big update.
something happening this week? I mean,
No, nothing big, nothing major. Just a little OS coming out.
which, as a reminder to those of you in the live chat, um, now if I listen to the episodes correctly, you won't be here next Monday.
Correct.
And then Wednesday, we will actually be at the Microsoft store. So there will be 2 shows in a row that we won't have a live chat and such.
Yeah, so this coming Wednesday, we will be at the Microsoft store recording our episode. And then the following Monday, I'm still down in Dallas. I'll probably be in the airport at that time. I was looking at all the timing and stuff, and I'll probably be sitting in an airport.
I was going to say, something tells me airport Wi-Fi won't be so great for a show.
No.
Or the ambient noise.
No, it would be pretty horrible. So we'll see. Maybe we'll try to record a little something extra.
Yeah.
Just to kind of talk about
stuff.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll throw something solo up to allow people to listen to something on Monday.
On Monday. That's not a bad idea. Maybe from the little conference thing.
Yeah. It's a good chance. Record something.
That'd be cool.
Because I am taking equipment with me this time. I'm gonna take the mic. Gonna take pretty much everything. I'm not gonna take this webcam. There's one more thing I have to keep up with and keep from breaking. Just not gonna take it. All right, so there's been a lot of things coming out about the upcoming 950 and 950 XL.
There has been, and on top of that, there has been screenshots of the Xbox One new refresh on the dashboard, which is, harkens back to what iPhone's been doing with the pictures of people. It's been circles. Everybody's doing circles now, and that rings true in the new Xbox OS coming in. So I'm curious. Well, we were kind of starting on a discussion in our Windows Phone meetup, and that's when I realized this would be an awesome topic for the show, because I feel like we have opposite tastes for this new supposed flagship and supposed design language that they're using on it. So, I guess we could start off. Do you feel like the new device, from what we've seen from renders from Windows Central, because they keep changing the renders based off of rumors they hear, do you think it's too much like Apple or Android? And if so, what would you like to see?
Now, in particular, you're referring to software right now or the hardware?
Oh, sorry. I'm referring to hardware now. I'll go back to software.
Okay. In regards to the hardware, on the back, I know me and you definitely talked about the Microsoft logo or the Windows logo being on the back, kind of like what they're doing with the Surface and kind of like what Apple does with the iPhone, where you have a nice shiny Apple logo right on the back of the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not something that's going to easily peel off, then that's fine. If it's kind of like built into the back the way that Apple has done,
yes,
then I think it would be good, as long as it's something durable. But I'm kind of fond of the matte finishes that Microsoft has done in the past with these Lumias.
See, I really like specifically, I like the white shiny. So, and I don't know if they do or don't have shiny. I'm not too sure on that. Obviously it's not set in stone, but I want to say maybe some of the colors are matte and some are shiny, because they've done stuff like that before.
Yeah, that is very possible. With Microsoft, you just never know. It could be a shiny cyan, it could be a shiny, or it could be a matte cyan.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to say what's going to come out.
So I'm curious, do you not like the back logo just because, I mean, it can rub off? Or did you not like the back logo because you thought it was way too much like Apple? Like you felt that Microsoft should do something of their own?
I like it as is because that's kind of what we were hoping to see. That's what they do with the new Surfaces. It's just with the Surface 3, it's just simply the Microsoft logo or Windows logo right there on the back.
Oh, okay.
So I like it. And so that would be very unification of design across those platforms.
Oh, okay. I guess I may have gotten a different tone from, I guess it sounded more like you didn't like it per se, or you might leaning towards, it's okay, but it's too much like Apple.
No, my thing then was just looking at that render. Whoever photoshopped that
Oh,
didn't quite align everything correctly.
no. But, that's it's Photoshop and somebody not experienced with Photoshop for you, which I am not by any means. But yeah, I really do like the logo on the back, just the plain logo on the high-end devices, and the low-end maybe having like printed on Microsoft with, that same logo, maybe smaller. Um, I feel, and for those of you maybe out there who think, oh, well, it's too much like Apple, they need to differentiate themselves. Think of it this way. Car manufacturers, they all have their logos on the car. And if they were to try something completely different, it might not have the same effect. So, for instance, um, Ford has it's like a blue oval with the chrome lettering in the center. Honda used to do the same thing, and they still kind of do. It's just the H with the chrome on, that's it. I mean, they're very similar. So I don't see, and it's effective too. I don't see why both companies couldn't do kind of the same thing, because it works, to promote the brand in a specific way. Because Microsoft really hasn't had a solid logo for a long period of time. Like the Windows logos constantly changed, and I feel like now they have like kind of a solid Apple-esque logo, which isn't terrible, because they need that like brand recognition to be out there in the wild. And so when you turn over that phone and somebody's like, what is that phone? Because, most people don't have Windows phones. You can be like, hey, it's a Windows phone. It's the new flagship. And I feel like it holds a proud brand, with that logo.
Oh, I agree. I hope when they do settle on the final design, which I'm sure they probably already have, that it is just very nice and simplistic. I like clean
Yes.
devices.
I like minimalistic devices. Love them. And I think a lot of that comes from liking, Zune and Windows Phone. I mean, very minimalistic design. And I think that really works specifically for me.
Right. Symbol on the back, Microsoft on the front, across the top of the device, and that's it.
So when it comes to OSs, how are you? So you have actually touched on Windows 10 quite a bit. In fact, you're running it on your Surface right now, right?
Correct. Yes.
So do you feel like it's too much like Android, or it's a pain to use, or any of the things that we may have heard from, other people that are blogging about such things?
No, I would say if you're familiar with Windows 7, you're going to be right at home. It's just the start menu looks a lot different,
Cool.
which it looks like what people complained about with the Windows 8.1.
Right, which is kind of the point. I mean, they wanted, so from what I gathered from Mary Jo and Paul Thurrott, is they wanted an 8.2 update, and that's when they were going to add that specific start menu. But they held that back, and it finally became part of Windows 9, i.e., what at the time, what we didn't know was Windows 10. And, that I think people from what I've seen. I think the transition won't be as painful as from 7 to 8. I think it'll be a much easier transition, especially since it looks a little bit maybe like an Android-esque, OS in certain aspects, not obviously in all. And I really like the design language that they're going for now. It took me a little while to warm up to, but I'm really starting to like it, and I'm definitely going to start seeing that in the new Xbox stuff, which, by the way, very, very different dashboard than what we're used to right now. It actually reminds me a little more of like a Sony dashboard, which isn't necessarily terrible. If it works and it works well, that's the point. So that should be coming out this fall, and I'm a little hesitant on that one because I like the one now, but obviously I haven't used the new one, so I can't say, oh well, I just hate the new one. It just a little system shock seeing it for the first time. So yeah, that's kind of all I really wanted to cover around all those. Did you have anything to add about Windows 10 other than obviously it's coming out Wednesday, and I'm really excited to have a first hand on it come Wednesday because I haven't touched Windows 10 yet.
I know. I'm really surprised that you still have not made the plunge in some way, shape, or form.
Well, like Mary Jo's kind of been doing, she's just holding off for that first time experience to get it all at once, and I kind of like the idea behind that. So that's kind of what I'm.
It's gonna be exciting, but it's not gonna be overwhelming.
Yeah,
that's. Oh my God, what do I do?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm sure it'll take me a minute to get used to. There's a what's the one off to the right? Is it your Action Center?
Yes. Well, Notification Center.
Or Notification, yeah. That'll be the one that's kind of interesting on a big screen to me. Everything else just seems normal, natural. But
yeah, I would say one of my biggest complaints, though, is whenever you do log into Windows 10 now, you get each individual update just slowly comes in, and that kind of gets annoying.
Okay, so like
instead of it just populating, just one notification and kind of a scrollable list, you get one notification. 2 seconds later, another notification.
Oh, I see.
And I'm just like speaking to tweets and Facebook messages and stuff like that.
So instead of like one notification that you have 9 new notifications, you get like 9 different notifications.
You get 9 individual ones.
I could see that could be a little frustrating.
Right. But I do like having that. You got all the little setting choices right there. It is good. They've done well. And with all these updates, I mean, they released a couple updates over the weekend, just little security things, which I'm sure did a lot more than just to not be classified as little. But.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously one of the biggest features I'm excited about for Windows 10 is the streaming to my computer from my Xbox. That way I won't interrupt anybody like watching a show, movie, or whatever. Now, as far as I know, Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo were talking about, well, more Paul Thurrott than Mary Jo, but they were talking about how you could only stream to the PC. You couldn't do 2 things at once, which was what you were saying earlier, I want to say last week maybe, which is interesting to me because you can kind of do both right now. So that makes me curious as to why you couldn't. Because you can play a game and snap TV and do both at the same time. So I'm just a little. I'm curious to try it out.
He's getting worried.
No, I'm curious to try it out for myself because I do have 2 devices in, where the living room is, and so for me to use the Xbox on the computer and her to use the 360 isn't a big deal at all. So,
I think you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, and well, being as next year they're coming out with the Gears of War console, I will be getting a second to so.
Mr. Dedication to Gears of War.
Yes. Which in other news, they just set Gears of War Ultimate Edition on gold, so that means no more changes to the game. It's released to manufacturers to print discs, and you can pre-order it on the Xbox Live Store, which I did over the weekend.
Nice. So that means
And
it'll just gradually download between now and then, and whenever it is available, all you got to do is just click the install button.
actually, I kind of forced it to download right away in hopes that I could somehow sneak in a game or so. Obviously, that didn't work.
Nice try.
Yeah,
All right.
that's okay
So
though.
you've also got something in here about GMOs. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not a whole real super familiar with GMOs, and actually, I needed to look up what GMO actually stood for. I hear about it all the time in
right.
food and agriculture and stuff like that, but
And
so
it's
you're going to be
really
teaching me something.
it's very tech driven in my opinion, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it a little bit, mostly because it was on Star Talk Radio, and Bill Nye does a fantastic job of explaining not only what they are, but he used to be on the other side of the fence. He used to be against GMOs the same way I was. And so a GMO is a genetically modified organisms. For those of you, looking it up on your phone or whatever, as we were rambling. So basically what that means is that can be anything from natural selection, or not natural selection, like
Yeah, let's not
unnatural
talk about
selection.
natural selection here.
Unnatural selection, like breeding. So literally every dog in existence, a domestic dog in existence, is a GMO because we selected them for their specific traits. So if you don't like GMOs, it's like kind of saying I don't like dogs. Just saying. Um, Also, farming is not a natural process. So for you to say I don't like GMOs because it's not natural, well, farming's not natural either. So you're going to have to get over that argument too. All right. Now that we got those two out of the way, GMOs, there are things that they affect our lives every day, whether we realize it or not. For instance, corn, the way we see it today isn't how it looked 100 years ago. I mean, we kind of have bred it up to the point to where it is today, where it has a longer ear of corn and produces more kernels than it ever did.
Right.
And
Because I mean, they want to kind of produce more in a smaller space. That I've that
yeah,
I've been hearing a lot of.
yeah, so GMO doesn't always have to be messing with DNA and playing God, so to speak. Um, it can really be about things that George Washington used to do. He used to clip flowers and shake pollen from one to another to crossbreed them. I mean, hybrids. We've done it a lot, and
And what didn't George Washington do?
I know, right?
I mean, the guy throws silver dollars across the Potomac, chops down cherry trees, leads the country against the British.
Well,
What doesn't he do?
he's the first president. He's got to be the best one, I guess. But yeah, so a lot of the things that GMOs can potentially help us do are like what you were mentioning, where we can use less area and farm more product. And I think this is going to be bigger going into a future with, instead of 7 billion people to feed, we're going to have 9 billion on Earth to feed. And I think GMO is the best way to go
That's
when it
where
comes to that.
natural selection's got to come into.
Yes.
I mean, the whole Darwin theory of, well, I get, yeah, natural selection. People just sometimes it just happens. It's just
Well,
your
right.
time.
And I mean, we can breed, plants to be drought resistant. Like in the case of California, it was a long, long spell of just no water, no rain. And I mean, that could kill the majority of like food or crops, unless they had some kind of aqueduct system or watering system of some kind. But I mean, what if we could breed into that plant to be drought resistant? I mean, we are already breeding them to be resistant to certain kind of pests and certain kinds of chemicals. The chemicals that, not the super bad chemicals, they're kind of straying away from those, but the chemicals that only affect certain like pests, like the what is that? The corn borer weevil or something like that. It eats
Boll,
corn
boll
only.
weevil or whatever they call them.
Yeah, and we can do that with GMOs. Now, obviously, not everything is all happy, fun times with GMOs because there are unintended negative side effects, which we therefore have to turn around and fix, or I think we should turn around and fix because, well, we caused them in the first place. So, for instance, the monarch butterfly solely feeds on the what Bill Nye would call the milk flower, but it's the milkweed essentially. He just likes the name milk flower better. But anyway, it's the milkweed. They feed on that. That's their main food source. Unfortunately, it's also kind of gotten into our crops, so we, went out to destroy it. Unfortunately, we were so good at destroying it that it harmed the monarch butterfly population.
Okay.
So now we're at the point, if we don't do something, they're going to go extinct and it's going to be our fault. So now Monsanto and a few other of the big GMO companies
You're going to get people riled up with saying Monsanto.
Oh, I know, Monsatan.
You're
But
gonna get hate mail.
that's okay. I will steer them in the right direction of Bill Nye. I'll have him answer questions because I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just kind of echoing a few things that I heard over the weekend on Star Talk Radio, which I really believe in. But they're all banding together to create these almost milkweed crops in a way, like a field of milkweed where monarch butterflies can go to and feed off of and not be destroyed by our farming. So that's the hope, obviously, and just have these kind of sanctuaries for said monarch butterflies of just straight milkweed everywhere and nothing else. So hopefully that'll boost the population again.
Okay.
And
for those of you just tuning in, this is the new food tech talk.
Yeah.
Talking about the latest in GMO and food, genetic food engineering.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not forget, I'm pretty sure it was Monsanto who made Agent Orange back in the World Wars.
Oh yeah, nice. Vietnam, yeah.
Or Vietnam, yeah. So I mean, they were hired to do the job. They did their job. They're definitely switching to what they want, that more of, in their job description, like they want to create these hybrid seeds that can possibly, withstand maybe, I don't know, an early freeze or, like I said earlier, a drought. But in order to do that, we need a little more help from the people, and people need to be a little more educated about it. I'm not saying that any of you aren't, but if you're against it, maybe take another look, because I think there's a lot that could be had there.
There's some good aspects to it, to kind of tweaking things, but then, I mean, obviously it opens up Pandora's box that it can just really be a big issue at times.
Yeah, which is obviously why we have to be careful. We don't just want to make something and release it into the wild. But I mean, even along the lines of not just plants, but I mean, what if we could make a bacteria that could absorb or digest the oil spills that we create? What if we could do something like that with genetically modified organism? That would be extremely helpful, I would think.
It'd be helpful, but I'd just rather us not have oil spills and stuff like that.
Well, I'd rather us not be using oil at all, but that's a whole other subject.
It's a whole other subject for a whole other show.
Yeah. But I feel like I've been rambling, so
well, you've been catching some heat in the chat room, and since the website automatically logged you out, you can't.
Oh yeah, I haven't.
Can't fire back.
Well, that's
I wouldn't say you're getting heat. A lot of little smack talking going in there.
That's okay.
Funny stuff.
JJ, Brad is not the expert. Shocker. No, I'm not. I'm expert at a few things, but that's not one of them.
Okay. Just real quick, talking about, you're a car guy. Big news coming out over the weekend about this big recall and fine that looks like it's going to be hitting Fiat Chrysler, Chrysler Fiat, whatever direction you want to actually call that, about these, what is it, that the computer system hack, and people can access the car's computer system just from whatever,
Yeah.
and shut the car down on the highway. Of course, that was a very staged
Right. Yeah, it
test.
was two guys hacking a car as much as they could, and it turns out they could, go all the way to like the transmission and the motor and the steering, even on some of them, and that's all accessed through the Wi-Fi. And a lot of people are taking the position, oh well, if we just all drove 1970s tech, we wouldn't have this problem. I mean, yeah, but that's not the way in which we're traveling. So we need to figure out the problem at hand. We need to figure out how to, protect our vehicles kind of as we do our computers with firewalls and such. I mean, there needs to be a layer of protection because obviously, this isn't going to be the first or last time this happens. So,
Yeah, as more cars get a little bit more technological advanced when it comes to computers and all this discussion of, LTE capability, in your car. So you can have all that network access and stuff within your, basically your car becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot for devices that are, kids or people might be using tablets or other electronic devices in them. The thought of all this stuff coming out is kind of, I don't know. I don't know really which way to go on this because from my understanding, it was Chrysler gave these people, kind of some of the code so they could do these tests to prove or to see if, it could shut the car down
uh-huh.
while it's driving. And obviously, you got somebody smart enough that can work their way around the code, they can figure out how to do that, and they did. So now, they're being hit with this huge fine. Let me see what kind of number we're looking at. And I know they're supposed to be recalling like 1.4 million vehicles and offering to buy back like 500 some odd thousand
Wow,
Dodge Ram pickups.
that's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that like it was an unprecedented fine. I don't know if it was in the history of the company or in the history of automotive in America or how that was, but it was I mean, it's a decent fine or a really big fine rather. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, wasn't the fine, um, isn't that linked to the safety aspect behind this?
Yeah. So the fine is the record civil fine of up to $105 million. In addition, owners of more than 1 million older Jeeps with vulnerable rear-mounted gas tanks will be able to trade them in or be paid by Chrysler to have the vehicles repaired. So the fine and stuff like that, that's not really associated with this
With the
hack.
hacking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like two separate things. They just had a bad weekend of news.
Yeah, they did.
That week, we'll say.
So, from the way I understand is Chrysler knew about some of these safety things and didn't act on them in a timely manner. So that's why they're getting fined.
Right. Which actually you hear about a lot with auto manufacturers because, well, they don't
Yes,
want to have to
indeed.
spend out all the money to deal with these major recalls and the bad publicity, the associated expenses, bad PR. So sometimes they might find out about an issue and just try to, well, if not a whole lot of people complain about it, maybe we can just get by with it. So.
Yeah, which is interesting to me because I remember when Toyota had that whole issue with a brake pedal wouldn't work on certain,
or the gas pedal would stick,
or the gas pedal would stick. Certain number of cars, like it was a pretty big amount of cars, and like the CEO was just like devastated. He felt terrible about everything that was going on. I mean, he kind of felt like his company was crumbling around him at the time because of all the negative publicity they were getting. But in the end, after everything was fixed and whatnot, I mean, Toyota's still around. So I think these car manufacturers need to realize, yes, things happen, but you need to fix them.
Yeah, you just need to address them responsibly.
Because after all, these are 5,000-pound hunks of metal traveling at 70 miles an hour. They're kind of
depending
dangerous.
on where you live, sir.
Yeah, they're kind of dangerous.
Just a little bit. I mean, Firestone is still in business. Ford is still in business after the
Right. Yeah.
Explorer rollovers and the
Or the
Firestone tire blowouts.
yeah, the Firestone. And I remember that year, my dad, he made it a point to run the Firestone tires like almost to the minimal tread that you could have to be effective, and then he could just go into
Get them
Ford and get brand new tires for free, basically.
all right. Just get them
That's what
swapped
he
out.
did. So, I mean, I wouldn't have recommended that, but I mean, he did.
Yeah, putting yourself at risk there.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
You know what I gotta say? I guess whenever I'm buying new tires, I don't even really look at Firestone. I mean,
um,
I guess that's like a
yeah,
subconscious thing that mentally, I guess it affected me, even though I'm not a huge car tire guy. You know of Goodyear and Firestone, and
I think they're still rebuilding, rapport with their customers. They're trying to get back on the road to success. No pun intended.
yes, there was a big pun there.
Yeah, there was. But yeah, that's some interesting news there.
Okay, let's talk about mini consoles real quick since you've got that in here as well, and dedicated streaming devices for gaming.
Yeah, so that's kind of all rolled into one thing. I just wanted to make sure I covered my bases with that. But so Razer is going to be buying the little mini console that was on the Kickstarter X amount of years ago. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
OUYNA or something like that, or
yeah, OUYA, which is what their button layout is. Instead of the ABXY, it's OUYA. So interesting little fun fact if you cared. um, so yeah, Razer is announced, or I don't know if they've announced, but I think it's rumored after the CEO of Oh Yeah stepped down that Oh Yeah might have announced, yeah, they're buying us. So that's another micro console just kind of chopped off. I don't know if you remember On Live.
I do remember On Live, and I remember the potential for it because I believe that was supposed to play things like Genesis games and all kinds of.
So unfortunately, and this is my personal opinion, unfortunately, I think it was too far ahead of its time. We didn't have the bandwidth for it, and we were still in the mindset of these big AAA consoles such as Nintendo, PS4, Xbox One, and so on. Um, I feel like if that were to be released today, especially by somebody like Google, in a very affordable price, that it would do just as well as like the Google Chrome, the little stick.
Chromecast.
Yeah, Chromecast. I feel like it would do just as good as that. What do you think?
Well, considering we've got an Amazon Fire TV here, and you can download, install games on it. Obviously, the internal storage is not up to par since it
Can you
runs on installable apps.
can you expand that storage?
I want to say there have been people that have been able to using, like a USB drive or something like that.
Okay.
Or, obviously if you got a USB port, you could probably run it to an external hard drive. So you could probably, I'm sure people have been able to find a way. I have not done any research on it. I just pretty much use it as a video streaming device.
Yeah, so just to give you guys an idea of what little micro consoles still kind of exist slash are worth anything, you've got the Shield console by NVIDIA, which is probably one of the best ones out there. Then
Yeah.
you have Forge TV by Razer, which literally just came out. You also have the Amazon Fire TV, which you all know about that. The Mojo Mad Cats, which was released in December 2013. Not too sure if they're still selling that or not. I'm sure they might be. See, this is the problem with micro consoles. They don't get enough light.
No, they come and go quick.
Yeah, they come and go quick. And I mean, Oh Yeah is on this list, but I mean, they are getting bought up by Razer, so it doesn't really that's -1 on the list. A few of these others I see I don't recognize at all. I mean, I think all of them are Android based, but the problem is I just feel like they don't get enough attention. So people make these great devices. It has great potential, but then it just falls off into nothing. So I don't know. I don't know what they could do, in order to keep them going. I think like Nvidia, they really promoted the heck out of the Nvidia Shield, and I think they have a new one coming. So they've got a portable Nvidia Shield, which is the controller with a screen attached to it, and then they've got like the console like Nvidia Shield, which you can like connect up to your TV and play kind of like you would on um, an Xbox or what have you. But I mean, most of these micro consoles are used to play like mobile games, which is, I guess, a little puzzling to me at times, because if you wanted to do that, why wouldn't you just hook up you know, a, a gamepad to a USB on your tablet? Kind of the same thing, really. I mean, unless you
Pretty
wanted to
much.
play it on a really big screen, which once again, it's a mobile game, so I don't see why. Maybe I'm missing something, Kevin.
It
Maybe you
could
can help me
be.
out here.
Could be. I mean, there's some great games available on mobile devices, like Modern Combat, for example. If you're into first-person shooters, Dead Trigger. Those are two fantastic games available on your mobile device, or even what is Asphalt 8. I guess
Yeah,
it's the one is called Airborne, the latest one. I mean, they're great games,
yeah. I
but
mean,
playing them on your smartphone is a
is a
bit of a
pain in the
challenge
butt.
because trying to control your characters and stuff like that. For example, I saw DuckTales Remastered was available on the Google Play Store for 99 cents, so which is like super cheap because I want to say that was like a $10 game.
Oh
And
wow,
so it
okay.
was on sale. Saw it like, ooh, I've got to get that. And trying to play it on a smartphone is just a pain in the butt. Uh,
Well,
it's just to me, it's a horrible experience.
there's a company called, I think it's Moga, and they make Bluetooth controllers specifically to hold your phone.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think those are really cool ideas if you're into a super like mobile gaming experience, literally mobile gaming. That it's an option, but I don't know. I guess I don't see the appeal behind most of these devices, which might be the point. You know, it, might be why they are doing so poorly. Because I mean, yes, it's a great idea. You can have access to the Play Store, you can get all these games, but if people don't want it, there's nothing there to be had. So I don't know.
Well, when you factor in most of these things are costing like 150, $200, people see the price of an Xbox One or PS4.
And it's like, well, if I spend an extra $100, I can have, a full console that does all these other wonderful things and has more power. And yeah, I think that's kind of more the mindset people go towards.
And that is the more traditional. We've grown up with Atari and Nintendo, and parents
Yeah.
that are at the buying age to buy these things for their kids. That's the stuff they grew up on, so that's what they're used to. But they're not sitting here reading all these tech websites. The average person is not.
Well, right.
To
Well,
even
we're
know these
just
things
freaking.
exist. They might walk into Walmart and I think it was the OEM had they actually had a display there.
Oh, wow.
It's either that or something else. I can't remember which one in particular was at our local Walmart. And you sit there and you see it, and of course, since Walmart don't care about it, it's not a huge seller on their market. They kind of left the display just looking terrible, and that is a customer's first experience and interaction with it. They're like, well, I don't know what this is. So, and of course, the people that work there, they don't have a clue what it is. They'll just say,
Yeah.
yeah, you can play games, you can hook it to your TV. That's about the extent of their knowledge of
It's
it.
super cheap. Yeah, it looks like it too.
Right. So they can't sell it to customers. That
um,
I think what hurts them.
so that reminds me. and I'm calling upon our listeners who still don't hate me from the GMO segment.
Oh, too late for that.
Okay, well, I'll try anyway. So there's a game that I used to play when I was a very, very young child. This was before I had my NES, and I believe it was on an Atari because it had a joystick and one button. I believe it was called Hopper, and the level design is kind of like you're in a warehouse with a bunch of boxes that you like punch or push, and when you push them, they move one square over, and the point is to kind of either squish, kill, trap these creatures that are running around this big warehouse looking thing. And each level is kind of like a puzzler, kind of like that. Problem is, I can't seem to find it. So if anybody has any idea what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure you play as like a kangaroo with boxing gloves on, and which is why it's called Hopper, I think. And like I said, I think it was on the Atari because I just remember like wood grain, putting in a cartridge at kind of like a slanted angle, and like a joystick with one button. So that screams Atari to me. But anyway, and the little creatures are like these like fuzzy things where like their entire body is their face, and they have hands, and just one of them I think wears a cowboy hat.
Wow, very
Yeah.
vivid memory there.
Yeah, so really strange, off the wall thing there. But if you guys have any idea what I'm talking about or know what that game is, please point me in the right direction because I'm having trouble finding it.
Yeah, I was trying to do a quick little search, and I didn't. I mean, it pulls up something for Hopper for Atari 8-bit, but
Yeah,
I'd have to dig into it and spend some time.
I've looked for like the past 2 weeks and I could not find it to save my life. So I don't know. So there's that. If you guys know what I'm talking about, Twitter, holy_shadows.
Let him know he wants to play as the kangaroo again.
I do. A little nostalgic.
Halftime says he thinks it was kangaroo. Maybe it was just called kangaroo.
That could be. Well, while you talk about your next thing, maybe I'll jump and check that out.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it is. It looks like you can go up ladders and collect fruit, jump up and get fruit. It looks kind of like Donkey Kong, actually.
Yeah,
this game does. This game looks a lot like Donkey Kong, just based on the image that I'm looking at from Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's not the one that looks like Donkey Kong.
Okay. That was released in 1982.
An oldie one. Definitely for the Atari, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that one.
Okay. Well, I'm sure somebody be able to help us out here.
Well, I sure hope so, Kevin, because I'm going mad over trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Sometimes, classic games, things like Nintendo games are actually pretty fun to play on emulators on phones. Those are actually somewhat tolerable because you don't have to do a lot of fancy movements to play the game. Unless you're playing like Tecmo Super Bowl or something. You're trying to run around the screen to avoid being tackled.
Yep. So there's that. If like I said, if you guys know what I'm talking about, hit me up.
Yep. And as we've mentioned recently, the OnePlus crew over in, I guess, China are prepping to unveil the OnePlus 2 today. So
today.
Yeah, possibly by the time that you hear this episode, they will have fully announced the OnePlus 2 invitation. Again, they're doing the silly, stupid invitation system. And whenever I got in the queue, I'm like 56,200 and something in the invitation queue. Hopefully, I'll be able to get an invite because I would like to try out the OnePlus 2. I've actually seen a few OnePlus 1s out in the wild lately. Just a few weeks ago, I was here in St. Louis at a local gathering on Thursday night called Venture Cafe. And one of the guys that I met there was like, oh, you've got a OnePlus 1. He's like, you know what that is? I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of what I do. I talk about this stuff. And he was using a Moto 360 Android Wear device as well. So he says he likes it. He liked the OnePlus 1. OnePlus 2 is supposed to be even better. And if it launches on time, which is actually supposed to be in like a week or two, because there was another leak that came out today about August 8th release in China, that it will be the first smartphone released with USB Type C as the charging port. So that would be kind of nice. And it is also supposed to have a fingerprint sensor, which is rumored to be better than most. But of course, that's according to OnePlus. So there's been some, kind of like leaks. MKBHD's been showing off some videos and photos that he's been taking with the pre-production model that they sent him to try out. And camera-wise, it doesn't look too bad. Whether it's going to be something that has a better camera than the LG G4, Galaxy S6, and Edge, that's going to be another entire story.
So the whole fingerprint scanner thingy, that's got me excited. I really hope from here on out our premium devices, that's just going to be a normal. You're either going to have some kind of like a facial recognition iris scanner, which I would argue to believe to be one of the safest or the most secure ways to use your like, for instance, Windows Hello features, or the fingerprint reader, which would also be a nice thing. And the reason I say that the facial recognition is more secure is because they have done, tests where you could actually lift somebody's fingerprint off of the fingerprint reader, recreate it, and then use that on your thumb and get back into their phone. Obviously, that takes a lot of skill to do that, but it is possible. Whereas with like a feature with Windows Hello, because I can't think of anything else right now, if you have some kind of facial recognition, like Xbox One, it recognizes you, and there's no holding up a picture in front of your face because it's an infrared camera. It sees things differently than just a regular webcam. So
that's granted you're actually using a Kinect.
Right. Granted, you're using a Kinect, or granted, you're using one of the new rumored Windows phones coming up that's supposed to have that in it.
I think that stuff's overkill myself.
I disagree, and I think it's only overkill if you use it in the wrong way. Like, wasn't it Samsung? If you were reading the phone, the screen would be on. If you're looking away, it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's overkill.
If detected that you were not looking at the device, the screen would turn off and come back on.
That is a little silly to me. That is a waste of battery and resources. And
yeah, that's why whenever you get a device, is one of the first things that you turn off.
But in the instance of, let's say, signing into a phone, as long as it is not like painful to use, if it happens like magic the way the Kinect does, I'm all for it, because it's pretty nice to just walk in the room, sit down on the couch, and it's like, hey, welcome back. It's pretty cool stuff. Don't even have to touch a controller.
Yeah, have Cortana, as soon as you sit down on the couch, say, welcome back, Brad.
Yeah.
What do you have Cortana calling you on your Windows
just
device?
Brad.
Just Brad? You didn't get all creative?
No, I wasn't like the Batman or Zordon or any other nerdy weird thing. I'm not that clever.
Okay.
But
I have my devices call me Mr. Kevin. But I've changed it numerous times. Well, hello, Mr. Kevin. Yeah. That's one of the nice things, though, about Cortana is you can customize all that stuff. What is it going to call you, and let it, you can hear how it's going to sound and stuff. I just like that. I like that stuff. It's kind of funny. And, one of the biggest things about this OnePlus 2 they talk about is 3,300 milliamp hour battery, 4 gig of the LPDDR4 RAM, and, it's supposed to retail for less than $450.
Those are pretty awesome specs for not a lot of price.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I hope we see more of that because as of right now, those things are too expensive.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried about the Snapdragon 810 just because it seems like every
Yeah.
device that's currently running that kind of has some issues with it.
And not to pick on Android right now, but
Just do it.
I mean,
Alienate,
810 is only
alienate those
in Android.
fans.
They're only in Androids right now, so we don't know if another system can, handle it better or worse. For instance, the HTC M8 running Android has less battery potential than running Windows Phone, and it's just because the way they're optimized. Now obviously, Google has since optimized Android quite a bit, and I think they're heading in the right direction, especially for battery life. But and it's just one instance where maybe one OS can produce better battery than the other, and that's just a big maybe. It's not like I'm saying, oh well, Windows Phone is the best.
We know deep down inside you feel that way. It's okay.
Oh,
Halftime in
come
the
on.
chat mentions that Qualcomm's Touch ID is based on ultrasonic, not infrared.
Which is really cool. That's awesome. And I'm not like knocking iPhone or anything that has Touch ID because I still think it's a really, really good idea.
Touch ID is fantastic.
Yeah, it works so well, and it is very, in my opinion, accurate and fast, and once again, just works. So
Yes,
really
it
cool
does.
stuff.
Yes, it
I'm done with passwords, Kevin. I'm ready for Windows Hello.
Hello. I
Yeah,
always say the Three Stooges.
I know, right? uh,
Okay, so move into app and entertainment picks, and I will let you go ahead and kick things off as well.
Yeah, so had a local beer from around these parts last night, and turns out it was I got a badge, and it was STL Beer Week. So that is happening all this week, where
Yeah.
most of the craft beers around here, or craft breweries, they will like do something special, like maybe a dinner or have like band with specials, something along those lines. And that's all this week. It's presented by Urban Chestnut, so you best believe we have something cool, I'm sure. But something to look out, for if you're into beer and you're in the St. Louis area during the week of July, or well, really during the week of August 2nd. July 25th to August 2nd. There you go.
Okay, so if you're in St. Louis this week,
Yes, this week only. For 1 week only.
all right, so make a special trip to St. Louis and come experience Craft Beer Week because we've got some great beers in St. Louis. That is, you don't even have to get into the whole Anheuser-Busch thing.
No, so it's this. I find this funny. I obviously play Destiny more than I should, and I was playing with a few people from California, and I play with them every once in a while. And I thought it funny that they think of St. Louis as one of the beer capitals of the U.S., which I think is really cool. I mean, that's something. I mean, that's one of the good things or one of the things we are good at: beer and baseball, as I like to say.
Could be worse, that is for sure.
Yeah, so check it out if you're in the area. I know most of our listeners are, a good portion.
Are of age.
Yeah, that too.
Remember, no underage drinking, kids.
Yes.
Stunts your growth.
Stunts your growth.
Now talk about the best worst movie ever.
So there is a documentary on this movie, and I believe it is called The Best Worst Movie Ever. I want to say it's on Netflix. Not too sure. But anyway, this is all speaking to the movie Troll 2, which has nothing to do with Troll 1, by the way. It was I want to say, French director, somewhere in that language area. And he wanted to make a movie because all of his friends were becoming vegetarian, and that was just terrible to him. And he wanted to make a movie to scare them out of that, so he made Troll 2, and that's basically what it's about. It's about vegetarians being terrible and eating meat is good. which I laugh at, but it was made in 1990. It's very 90s. Has an amazingly awesome like late 80s, early 90s like soundtrack. So if you love that stuff, or if you just love B movies in general and like watching them for fun, that's definitely a movie I would check out. It's once again, it's the best worst movie ever. Like it's in its own league. It's like a Miami Connection. It's just so terrible. It's good.
Yeah,
So
both Troll 1 and Troll 2 are available on Netflix. Troll
yeah.
2
So
an hour and 34 minutes.
I don't know anything about Troll 1, but I know that Troll 2 has nothing to do with it. And I'm pretty sure they're both B movies, so I would definitely check it out.
Okay. Might have to have a look at it for some laughs.
Hilariously bad. And when you have a sentence like, oh God, what is it? No, never mind. I'm just not even going to try. It's just a bad idea. Just
Okay.
you should watch it.
All right. I will take that under advisement.
Yes.
All right. So me and the wife watched the movie this weekend. Well, actually, I watched all of it and she kind of fell asleep during it. And, we were scrolling through Netflix just trying to find something to watch. I recommended to her to watch Nightcrawler. I was like, I'm willing to watch it again. It was that good. She's like, no, you pick something because I'll probably end up falling asleep, which obviously she did. So scrolling through and I seen Morgan Freeman. And, I like Morgan Freeman. I think the majority of people enjoy Morgan Freeman as an actor. And this was called The Magic of Belle Isle. It was kind of a kind of a cheesy kind of movie, but it actually had a pretty good ranking on Netflix. I want to say it was a 4-star ranking on Netflix. And this came out in 2012, directed by Rob Reiner, where Morgan Freeman plays a character who is an aging writer, because the guy's almost 78 years old. And so he used to write cowboy books, books about the Old West and stuff like that. So he's an author, and he's disabled, and he's being taken to this, I guess, Belle Isle is the name of this little community, and it's just kind of a little lake community that for summer, where people go in the summer. It was actually pretty good. He is a very cantankerous alcoholic. Yeah, is not very friendly, but he meets his neighbor, who is played by Virginia Madsen. She's a single mom of 3 girls that range in age from like 7 to teenager. It was actually pretty decent movie. Some pretty funny parts and some head shakers, but overall, if you've got a couple of free hours, check it out. Magic of Belle Isle, and you like Morgan Freeman, who doesn't? Sure.
I was going to say, who doesn't like Morgan Freeman? He's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's the guy that you could just listen to narrate anything.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeman, will you read to me
50 Shades of Grey?
Well, it might be pushing it. It might be pushing it.
I had to.
You didn't really have to, but you did.
Oh, but I did.
Oh, you did. Yeah, as Raul mentions, Sharknado 3. I think Sharknado 1 and 2 are actually available on Netflix to stream for free.
Yeah, Sharknado 1 is definitely in that in that category of Troll 2, or at least close to. But
I've yet to see any Sharknadoes, and I don't know if I ever will, but I do have them in my Netflix.
Or Birdemic. If
Never
you've ever heard or seen that, my God. Anywho,
moving on to weekly poll questions. Our current question is, how soon are you updating to Windows 10? Let's look at those results.
Wow.
Looks like 82% of people are immediately updating. 11% say within a few weeks. 5% says I'll wait a few months. And there's actually 3% of people say I do not see a reason to.
Huh.
Interesting.
It was one vote for that little 3% chunk.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, fair enough. To each his own.
Yeah, to each their own. And another poll I kind of threw out there toward, I don't even remember when I put this out. It might actually still be live, but thoughts on the recent format changes of Tech Informist. We have kind of changed how we do things, fewer topics, but more in-depth discussion. So you guys get more personal opinions of what we think about certain things. And right now, 25% of people say they like them. 25% say they love them. And 12% people say they hate them. But of course, they haven't told us why, which is actually part of the option. And 38% of the people say, I still need to listen to the show. So, I put this out on the straw polling app and Strawcast. So, pretty much anybody could see that and vote whether or not they've listened to the show or not. So we'll see. I think they might have, how much time? It's got 1 day left on that. Actually, I need to promote that a little bit more. So this week's poll question is, what will keep you from buying the OnePlus 2? The options are invite system, it's Android, the version of Android they are using, which is an Oxygen. They call it Oxygen. It's kind of a spin-off, kind of like Cyanogen mod, where it's kind of like customized from the Android open source project, which is pure Android at its purest. So Android Oxygen is just kind of another, not really a skin, but it kind of its own custom created ROM for this. And the last option is do not trust the company. So we'll have the link available for you to go and cast your vote. Currently, it sits at 50-50 at invite system, and it's Android.
Huh. Yeah, I really do not like that whole invite system. That is just...
I don't either, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. So as we wind this down, I do want to, again, thank everybody for listening. We do appreciate it. Love some more feedback. Would love some more feedback.
Yes, I want some more.
Yeah. And, getting ready to head to Podcast Movement. So I'll be traveling and might have some free time to maybe do some Periscopes or something like that. So I might schedule an AMA and Ask Me Anything kind of thing here pretty soon.
Uh-oh, better be careful with that.
I know that, yeah. You never know what'll come through on something like that. So I might do that as well. And again, hate to always do this, but, if anybody would be interested in supporting the show, you can simply go to techinformist.com/support. And you can find all the different options there, anywhere from as low as $1 a month all the way up to $50. There's 5 different options. And another thing that I really need to do, put together a survey. What would people like to have in return for their support?
Oh, yeah.
So many things to do. Always so many things to do. I can honestly never say I am bored or I have nothing to do, which is very popular for teenagers to say, I'm bored. I don't have anything to do. I wish I had your problems.
Yeah, that...
I've always got something to do.
Kevin, I don't think we will have those problems anymore because we are a lot older.
Yeah.
We have a lot more responsibilities.
Yeah. Darn adult life.
I know.
But it is what it is. You can't stop progress.
Nope.
All right. Well, you can find me, Kevin Harvell, on Twitter at Kevin Harvell, 2 L's. You can find Brad on Twitter as well at holy_shadows. So that pretty much does it. We will see you after the launch of Windows 10.
And maybe we'll have more to discuss about that.
Maybe we will. It's going to be a good episode that we'll be recording on Wednesday. Unfortunately, sorry, live viewers, live listeners. Have to catch the replay on this one. But we do want your feedback, as always, which you can email to contact@thetechinformist.com or on Twitter @techinformist. That does it all. Until next time, consider yourself informed. We are out.
See you guys.